So, had a pretty light show planned for Friday, August 16th. It's a Just Baseball show presented as always by BetMGM, Jack McMullen, RM Layton. But the problem is, I just got a memo from Major League Baseball that said we have to go an hour 20 unless we bomb or one of us starts throwing up, which sucks. So, like, we're going to sit here for an hour 20. Is that okay with you?
It's the new rules. We got to do it.
The new
Whatever,
rules.
whatever Mr. Rob says, they're always great ideas. So let's do it.
Can I get something out of the way? This game is not broken, it's just different. Like baseball is not a broken sport. It's just a different sport than what we grew up with. And that's okay. And it's going to change because baseball is cyclical. And we don't need to put fucking rules in that make sure that a starting pitcher goes 6 innings or 100 pitches. Do you know how detrimental that would be if you mandate 100 pitches if a guy is throwing right? Are we kidding? This is like I understand that it's a memo that shouldn't have gotten out and, it was never going to make it past the preliminary stages. But the fact that CBSSports.com wrote an article highlighting that this came from the commissioner's office is outstandingly dumb. And
Yes.
if you haven't seen what we're talking about, do you have it in front of you? Like the mandates, the proposal of
Yes.
mandating 6 innings from starting pitchers were the only way you can go fewer than 6 innings as a starting pitcher is if you are over 100 pitches, allow 4 earned runs or more, or get injured to the point where you have to go on the injured list.
It's the single dumbest thing ever. And it like you said, it's not going to happen. So that's the good part of this. The thing that's kind of like shocking is just that it was even pitched as an idea. I'm all for just pitching ideas and being open minded, and some are going to be bad, some are going to be good. But this to me is like there's never been a better example, and we've gotten plenty of good examples from Rob Manfred. There's never been a better example of how out of touch this guy is with baseball. He likes golf, and I always think about him practicing his golf swing in the middle of the lockout meetings, like or between them, I should say. Like this guy has no feel for baseball. And while some of the rules have been good to speed up the game, it just shows that there's this disconnect that he just doesn't quite understand, I think, what makes the game that it is. Of course, all you think any of these pitchers want to go out there and not throw 6 innings? They all want to throw 6 innings. It's harder to do than just about ever because these hitters are very good. They're very selective. They've got your entire arsenal broken down before they face you, so they have an approach. Like it's hard, and also guys are max effort, and we know that the game's trended in a way where teams are more incentivized to cut the leash short and go to their super pen and whatever it may be. But really good starting pitchers still go 5-6 innings. Like just need more good starting pitchers. I just think this is the most outrageous thing because it would be one ridiculous to enforce. Could you imagine Robbie Ray? Robbie Ray just didn't have it yesterday, right? And he just was walking guys, gives up a grand slam, and it was just, and then he walked a couple more and they took him out. Good. Get him out of there. He would have had to throw another 70 pitches before he could get out. He only threw a
Well,
third of an inning.
grand slam, yeah, I mandate
Oh, the four
four
or more
earned
earned
runs,
runs. Yeah,
four
yeah,
or
yeah.
more
Okay.
earned runs. But even then, like you're telling me that, yeah, okay, so the opener's done. So like bullpen days are done at that point. There needs to be some sort of exception there because every team on the face of the earth has to deal with a bullpen day at some point because they don't have a starting pitcher that is stretched out to the point where they can go through 6 innings. So you're telling me that this would eliminate the bullpen days, which are a necessary evil in Major League Baseball in 2024 and the half decade prior to this. And I know Tampa did it strategically, but now it's used as a health measure. It's used as a, hey, we got to get our guys an extra blow. Let's put together a bullpen day. It's an assortment of guys that can go 2 innings. That's gone now. But the thing is, some of the best starts from average major league pitchers or back end major league pitchers are when they will themselves to 5 innings, a 2-run ball. The five and dive guy is done. But like, think about a Robbie Ray if he didn't have his best up and he didn't get clipped for that home run. You're telling me that he walks 3, he only allows 2 runs in the first inning. He comes out, walks 2 more, a scoreless second. Like the idea of him going 6 is gone because he's already walked 5 through 2 innings. So how do you will yourself to 5 innings of 2-run ball and you limit the damage with your C stuff?
Yeah.
that day is done because you're going to get killed in the sixth. You're going to get killed in the fifth when you're at 90 pitches and you have your C stuff, your D
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, and also like there's just days where you're not feeling right, and like teams will see that. Doesn't mean you're got to hit the IL, but if you're not feeling great, and now you got to throw through that even longer, it's going to be even more damaging. Like, teams, or I should say, the league has come out and said, "Hey, we want to do everything we can to keep these guys healthy," and then now it's well, unless you're not going 6 innings, right? Like even when you're not feeling right, you got to push it. Also, earned runs is an interesting aspect of it because if there's an error that is ahead of the runs that come after that,
Yes.
it could be a long time before 4 earned end up coming in after that. So that would have to be tweaked anyways, as is. Also, we're acting like pitchers are going 2 innings. Like 12 guys yesterday, as we're recording this. So 12 guys on Thursday night, or I should say Wednesday night, went 6 or more innings. 12.
12 of the 30.
That's fine. That's fine. I was not watching that like a game. I wasn't watching Guardians Cubs yesterday and saying, man, I wish Alex Cobb got an extra third of an out. And he went 5 2/3. Damn. Like that's it. Like, oh yeah, a lot of guys go 5 nowadays. I have a great time watching some of these elite relievers come in and do their thing.
Yes.
And I think, look, if you don't enjoy that, that's fine. Of course, Major League Baseball needs that starting pitcher that, and I think every team still wants to have that, right? Like what Paul Skeens does, it's infectious. People come to the game. It's built around that, and that's what they're trying to capture. And that's why this memo got out, I think, too, is because I think with what Skeens is doing and the attention and excitement, there's nothing quite like a starting pitcher when he's got the ball that day. Because when you have a superstar player, yes, he's playing every day, but you're going to watch him maybe field a couple balls and hit 4 times.
Yeah.
Pitcher, you're watching him toe the rubber and potentially dominate for half
100,
or
100
all the
pitches.
game.
Yeah. You get to watch what he does great 100 times.
Which could be 7, 8 innings. So I get that. But we just watched a Paul Skeens come up and do what he is doing. There's Jackson Jobe, I think, is going to come up and do that. It's harder to find, but they still exist.
Yeah.
The difference is we don't have shitty pitchers being stretched out 7, 6 innings and laboring to a 6 ERA because we have so many good relievers in the game nowadays. So it's really just quality control, in my opinion. It's not guys are incapable of going longer. Like you can go wheel out DJ Hers and have him, instead of going 5, have him go 6 or 7. His numbers are going to be shittier and you're going to lose more games. It's not a matter of guys being incapable of doing it. I think that's the misconception too. It's just that, hey, for the back end of the rotation, guys, you're better off having them go 5 because the third time through the lineup, guys that don't have plus stuff are going to get bludgeoned. So you hand it off to the bullpen. That's the way the game is. The same way the NBA, it is statistically more advantageous to shoot more threes. I miss the midi. I miss a mid-range jumper. I miss a good post game. Doesn't mean that we should mandate rules to make guys get in the post more and not shoot as many threes. Like they're going to shoot more threes, man. Why is that not a problem? There's been more shots in the beginning of a shot clock than ever before. We're seeing points scored like none other. And you don't hear that. Like we've lost the art of the fundamentals in basketball.
I don't know. I hear a lot of old people say that they missed this game and it's ruined because of all the 3-point field goals. But like, I mean, again, those people hate fun.
But no one says this is why basketball is dying. Oh, look at the NBA Finals ratings. They were terrible this year, which they were. This is why basketball is dying. There's too many threes. That false equivalence is so prevalent in baseball all the time.
Crazy, dude. I mean, people pinning things on the analytics guys. I want people that name the analytics guys, that call people the analytics guys, to name an analytics guy. Who are the analytics guys?
I want them to tell me what analytics is. I still, to this day, give me the definition of analytics, because the definition of analytics is just more specific, like numbers and information.
Yes, so it's quantifying qualities in baseball.
Yes,
like that's
correct.
What analytics is.
The analytics say that third time through the lineup, your guy's getting crushed. If you can just use surface level stats for that, how many runs does he give up the third time through the lineup? Or how about how many runs does he give up in the 5th and 6th innings? If it's a lot, you should probably go to somebody else.
Yes.
If you don't want to do that, you got to go find another starting pitcher and build out your rotation. Guess what? Really hard to find 5 very, very good starters that can turn a lineup over 3 times.
And I love the point where it's like Skeens can do that. Jobe can do that. We're not losing good starting pitchers that can go 6, 7. The best starting pitchers on the planet go into every game with full intentions of finishing that game. Tarek Skubal's the best pitcher in baseball this year. Tarek Skubal leads Major League Baseball in 3-pitch strikeouts. So that means that he is not wasting bullets. He is going after you right away. And you ask people, maybe in the commissioner's office, you ask people that pitched this, they will, in a rage, in a, like you're seeing red type of approach, say, oh, these analytics people think the best pitchers in baseball are Blake Snell and Luis Heel. No, they fucking don't. No, they don't. Nobody is going to sit here, look you dead in the eye, and say, Blake Snell is the model starting pitcher in Major League
He,
Baseball.
he had, he had to sign a 1+1 after he won the Cy Young.
What are we doing here? Like, nobody is looking you in the face and saying, like, yeah, Luis Heel, opponents were hitting a $130 against him through 2 months. He's the best starting pitcher in Major League Baseball. No, he's not.
He's
I
just
want a
great in
guy
his
that can
role.
go 9. In his
Yeah.
role, he was the best in baseball at that role, but it's a different role. It's a less valuable role. Luis Heel gives me 5 innings at a 2-1. Tarek Skubal gives me 7 at a 2-3. I'm taking 7 at a 2-3, and I guarantee you 30 organizations in Major League Baseball are taking 7 innings at a 2-3 as opposed to 5 at a 2-1. Guarantee you.
The big difference is, you're 100% correct. The big difference is they're going to take the shorter spurt starter with a low ERA over the 7 inning guy that's getting bludgeoned.
Me
So that guy,
too.
yeah,
Me
exactly.
too.
No, and that's what I'm saying. That's
Yeah.
why the game is trended towards these shorter starts, because your back end of the rotation starters, instead of being these like ground ball guys that just get crushed and teed off on, but they eat innings. Like instead, it's a higher upside 5 and dive type of guy that can go get outs, and then you hand it off to the bullpen. Like that's what teams prefer. That's what I would prefer, and that's what I think any sound GM would prefer. But you're still looking at a lot of pitchers here that are going to throw plenty of innings, like plenty. You've got 18, really 20 if you want. Sorry, 20 if you really add Kevin Gausman, who's 2/3 of an inning away. 20 starters who already are at 140 plus innings. So like, yeah, there's a new norm. You don't want to run guys into the ground. It's just clear that 200 plus is a little bit ridiculous, but like, it's not like guys are fighting for 130 innings. Like you're going to have a lot of starting pitchers eclipse the 150 inning mark this year pretty easily. And you're going to have a couple like Seth Lugo is going to be close to 200. Logan Webb's going to be close to 200. Logan Gilbert's going to be close to 200. Like it's not like this is a crazy epidemic that is just totally ravaging the game. I think injuries are worse. So the fact that this is even being discussed, I think that there's a big reason why this was probably leaked, was somebody probably internally was like, oh, if this gets out, the outcry of talking heads and podcasters and people on media will be so negative that it'll do its job, and they'll just sweep it under the rug and just say it was floated, it was just a consideration. We're not going to do that. Like I really do feel like somebody had to just say, hey, let's get this thing out there because it'll get squashed. And that's exactly what's going to happen here. But it's just so silly to me. Like there's just no need for go look at the rotations in the late 90s, early 2000s. How about even in the 2010s? How many terrible pitchers were getting run out there like Pat Corbin? Just like Pat Corbin was on every team pretty much. Like you had a Pat Corbin on basically all 30 teams, just going out there every fifth day, getting bombed, but he eats innings. Teams are ending up finding guys that can go 5 innings and be sharp, and they'd rather do that. Me too. I'd rather not have the auto L every fifth day. Oh no, now we're only averaging 5.267 innings per start. Who the fuck cares?
Who cares? Also, like, oh, we need to save the bullpen. Like, the roster's at 26 guys now. Like, I think you're okay at the end of the day. And like, this is bringing the multi-inning reliever back. Like, we see guys come out and throw too. We see a lot of really good relievers, and there are a lot of really good pitchers that are just kind of hanging out in AAA too. Now, I would say the baseline of AAA pitching is bad, but there are some that stand out. Like the top 10% should be in major league, bullpens at the very least, but they're not there because we have these like grandfathered in innings eaters that are making 25 million a year, like a Patrick Corbin, or, even a guy who's making a couple million this year in an Aaron Savali. You're telling me that the Brewers don't have a better option of combining, the work of Carlos Rodriguez and Jacob Mizorowski, like as opposed to Aaron Savali? Like, there are just better options than some of these like nothing burger innings eaters. And
Yes.
it's tough to watch, man. And like, I don't understand the idea of running out a guy that can go 6 because that's what Major League Baseball needs. Like, I'd rather watch a good guy for 4 than a bad guy for 6. I
I,
know
um,
that.
I'm with you 100%. Like Jeremy Guthrie in 2009, 200 innings at a 5.04 ERA.
Yeah.
Like from that lens, it's like okay, 5.04 ERA is not the worst in the world. But think about how many runs that means. That's
Yeah.
112 earned runs. 112 runs put up on the board that your team has to compensate for
Yeah.
because he's eating innings. I'm good on that.
I'm all right. Yeah. So that's our 15-minute intro on
Yeah.
on a crazy thing. Again, I'm with you. Like the thing that's most shocking is that this was even pitched as an idea, and like I'll echo what I said first. The game isn't broken. The game has just changed. Is it worse? That's for you to decide. I think we're seeing the best pitching that we ever have, and I don't see the reason to subdue that quality of pitching for the sake of seeing less calls to the bullpen. Doesn't matter. Does
Yeah.
not matter. So,
Especially when you don't really have nearly as many this now with you don't like the one thing I did hate was like, okay, one batter change, like the minimum batter
yeah,
rule,
that's
cool with it. Okay.
yeah.
So we're fine, but
I think
it's not going to happen anyways. Don't worry. But just wanted to highlight how dumb it is and why I'm counting down the days until Rob Manfred is finally gone.
now we can celebrate Aaron Judge. Aaron
Yeah.
Judge had career homer number 300 on Wednesday night in Chicago. By the way, it came after an intentional walk issued to Juan Soto to get to Aaron Judge. Why would you ever intentionally walk someone to get to Aaron Judge? He became the fastest player in Major League history to get to 300. He did it in 955 games, which is 132 games fewer than the previous record holder in Ralph Kiner. Home run number one came on August 13th, 2016. Homer number 300 came on August 14th, 2024. 8 years and 1 day it took for him to go from 1 to 300. This guy got a later start than pretty much every prospect, right? He was an older prospect at I think a mid 25 years old. If he got going 3 years sooner, we'd be talking about this guy, possibly entering the pantheon of the 600 club. But now, like you look at 500, you look at 400, those benchmarks. I think he blows through 400. I think he gets to 500. But man, this was a great checkpoint for him, and he did it in a classic way where he got a 3-0 green light. Pitch was off the inside part of the plate, and he drilled it over the wall and left. It's just another reminder to step back and appreciate what we've watched over the last, I don't know, 5, 6 years, but in particular, like I'm just thinking the last 3 years where he breaks Maris's record. And then he gets hurt. He plays 110 games and still
106,
106 and 39 home runs at
7,
106. Yeah,
37.
like, dude, come on. And then you've
So,
got this too.
I mean, like it is unfortunate that he didn't get up here like as early as some of the other guys, and then we've had some injuries that 27 home runs in 2018, 27 home runs in 2019, like that part stinks because I like if he was like this, as you said a few years earlier, even like you could just dream on the numbers that he could put up. But at the same time, if he didn't face that adversity in the beginning, I don't think he would have totally reinvented his swing and found the things that he ended up finding, and now kind of perfected the swing if you're a gargantuan human and just repeats it better than anybody else. The last 3 seasons, and the injury last year really sucks because he was on pace to get real close again.
Yeah.
But the last 3 seasons, 383 games, he's slashing 306, 433, 673 with 142 home runs and a 202 WRC plus, 102% above league average. His record breaking season in 2022, where he hit 62 home runs, he's been better this year, like objectively better. He might not hit as many home runs, but his on base percentage is up 40 points, 42 to be exact. His batting average is up 22 points. His slug is up because he's doubling and just driving extra base hits everywhere. Like he is the best version hitting wise that we have seen of himself. Like he's slugging 707. Like I cannot fathom what he's doing. It's the lowest strikeout rate of his career as well this year. Cut it by 4% from last year. It is incredible. He is, I think, one of the best hitters now. Like you can really, it might not cumulatively stack up with a lot of these other guys, but he's one of the best hitters of all time. Like the 3-year peak, you're not finding a lot of other 202 WRC pluses. And I know you really want a 5-year peak. I'm not too concerned about 2 more years of something like this. Clearly, he's getting better. So, like, if he repeats what he's doing this year, which is right now a 219 WRC plus, like if he's anywhere near the 200 number for the next, if he's anywhere near the 150 number
Yeah.
for the which would be 60% worse
Yeah,
than
it
what
would be
he's doing
kind of
this year,
disappointing. Yeah.
he'd still have one of the best 5-year peaks I think we've ever seen in this sport.
Where do you think getting better comes from with a guy like Aaron Judge? I think about those guys at the top that somehow manage to continuously level up, and it's like, oh, this has become a new element. I think in other sports, there are more holes to poke in an overall game than in baseball. I think about, Heisman Trophy winners that return, or, guys that were considered one of the best quarterbacks in the country that come back for their draft year. Okay, you have this to work on. You could be better making decisions on the fly. You could be better out of the pocket. You could be better within the pocket. Like there are ways to look at that, to quantify it, and to qualify that for those quarterbacks. For basketball players, hey, you need to improve your jumper. Like you need to shoot at a higher clip from beyond the arc. Hey, you need to be inside. You need to be more aggressive. Hey, you got to, improve the assist to turnover rate. There are so many things that you can identify. With a power hitter like Aaron Judge, he was flawless in 2022. 2023, he was flawless. And 2024, he's better. I don't know how people improve upon flawless, but somehow he's doing it. Where do you feel like that stems from?
I think it's just becoming the most polished version of himself, like realizing how people are going to pitch to him. Like
Yeah.
there was a few you'd see him sometimes get set down. I feel like in the last couple years where just maybe he takes a pitch, you're like, whoa, what's he taking? And you're almost thinking himself into a hole a little bit because you get so used to just nobody pitching to you and dealing with that. Like he's not chasing at all this year. And it's not that he ever really has chased a ton in the past, maybe a little bit more, but the last few years he's been much better in that regard. But I really think it's just realizing, okay, I'm the most feared hitter in Major League Baseball. Instead of, man, why won't people pitch to me? How do I use that to my advantage? Knowing which spots that like I'm probably not going to see anything to hit and not doing them any favors. And then the other spots where they have to throw to me, making sure I don't miss it. Guy's hitting 394 against fastballs this year. So he's just not missing the pitches that are given to him. Not that he was missing many at all ever before, but then I don't think he's given away any strikes now. It's like you're gonna have to come into me eventually, and I'm not gonna miss it. And that's the thing that stands out to me. I mean, 394 against fastballs when you are that big of a human being, and his chase rate is the lowest that it has been in his entire career, and it has dwindled year over year. So 2021 it was at 24%, 2022 it was at 23%, 2023 it was at 19.5%, and this year it's at 18.5%. I really think it's just those two little things, and then you marry those together when he's already darn near perfect, and you get a guy that could win the Triple Crown if Bobby Witt chills out a little bit. So it's remarkable. I hope he can just stay healthy and keep doing it because it's just too much damn fun to watch.
Unbelievable to watch. And, he's the only guy that can make you tune into a White Sox game when the White Sox are
Yeah,
trailing by 6.
yeah. The White Sox have been giving him a good fight. I
Yeah, the
will
Grady
say.
Sizemore era in full effect. Grady Sizemore, I think only 3 games under 500 at this point as a manager, which is 97 games better than Pedro Grifol, I think.
All right. I'll say one other thing that might be helping him: Juan Soto behind him.
Mm-hmm.
2.3% increase in pitches in the zone. That may not sound like much, but if you're seeing 2 more pitches for every 100 in the zone, you figure that's a few more home runs. Also, just an ability to be a little bit more aggressive and get away with that. Like, I think having that protection, he's never had a player like Juan Soto behind him, especially with the way he's performing now, or in front of him, whatever they want to do. Like, it just makes things different. So I think that part of it is big as well.
Yep. Another contender here just got a big piece back. And you mentioned that Robbie Ray grand slam a little bit earlier. That grand slam came from Michael Harris. And Michael Harris is back for the Atlanta Braves. And Harris hit that grand slam exactly 2 months after he hit the shelf immediately. So this guy was on the 60. He spent all 60 days, on the injured list. He looked really good in that rehab assignment. And he comes back in San Francisco and he hits the ground running. This guy was having a very underwhelming start to the year for 67 games. He had an OPS around 650. he comes back and he puts a good swing on a ball. Now you have to see it over 5, 10, 15, 20 more games. Having said that, like it's that kind of presence and that kind of first game back that can light a little bit of a fire under Atlanta. And don't look now, but Atlanta's won what, 4 in a row? They just swept San Francisco. I mean, I'm not going to say they're playing good ball right now because my bar for Atlanta is so much higher than where they're at. But in a vacuum, they just went to San Francisco. They swept San Francisco. This could be the kind of thing that like gets them going and proves the Braves to actually be the Braves that we were expecting.
I said last week, like or on Monday, I think, whatever it was, it's all blur,
Yep.
that I wanted to see, it would have been Monday, how the Braves respond to such a catastrophic blown lead, 7
Yeah.
runs against the
Horrible in
Rockies.
Colorado.
How do you turn around on that? Like that is a potential backbreaker, right?
Yeah.
Like that could be when you're struggling, you do that. Like that could be a clubhouse disruptor. That could be something that it really starts the downward spiral. Or they turn the page because they're champions and they've got vets there and they go out and win. And they did that. So like that makes me feel a lot better about the team in general, because just seeing the way that they could bounce back and the Giants have been closing in. They're not a total pushover team at this point, and they've been closing in a little bit. So that side of it was really encouraging. And then the fact that you get Mike Harris back, that was his only hit, was a big one. Drove in 5. Looked great in AAA, but this is a player that, even if he's not fully clicking, is a difference maker, right? Like they had Kelnick running around in center field and he's been doing fine, but like now you're adding,
sucked out there.
yeah, you're adding one of the best defenders in baseball
Yeah.
back into center field, not to mention the spark that he is offensively when he's going right, but let alone just the defensive side. He can really give this team a jolt. So I think this is huge for the Braves, a team that I'm very, very concerned about, like having that stretch and then having Harris finishing out that series and coming with you for the next one. Like it gives them a little bit of life here.
Yep. We're going to go to a guy in the other dugout in that series in a moment. Before that, quick break. New guy in that San Francisco Giants dugout is Grant McCray. McCray is up from Sacramento. The corresponding move was Marco Luciano being optioned to Sacramento.
Mhm.
I know Farhan Zaidi, there was like a quote that kind of recirculated after the fact that, essentially said at the deadline they wanted to clear up ABs for Luciano at the big league level. And 2 weeks later, that is not the case anymore. So we can start with the Luciano aspect and then get to Grant McCray. It feels like they kind of pulled the plug on that whole thing a little premature, huh?
Yes. Also, during the break, came up with a stat that's really crazy. I think I have this right. If Aaron Judge holds the 700 slugging percentage this year, it would be the first season where a player slugged over 700 since Barry Bonds in 2004, where he slugged 812, which is hilarious. But
Yeah.
all the other years were like either steroid guys in the early 2000s, like Sammy Sosa once, Bonds a few other times, or just a bunch of players in like 1920, 1930. So just
So
wanted to throw that in there.
he's essentially on his own island. Like it's
Yes.
him, Bonds, steroids, and Ruth. Like
If post steroid era, there's no one. There's no one.
yeah.
But back onto the point of Marco Luciano, that this is why like I wish like, GMs now their GM speak is starting to bite them in the ass, because it's like when you start to say so much of nothing, you can still almost undermine the nothing that you said. And like you want to get him more at bats. Yeah, like they probably figured, okay, well, one way or another, we're eventually going to get him more at bats. They needed him sooner than they thought. They bring him up. He didn't look good. And they started playing well, though, meanwhile. And so they're like, oh, well, we're in the hunt. We need players that can help us right now. So then they send him back down. Just be honest. Like, don't say that you made those moves just because you wanted to free up ABs for a guy that has not performed at any stop. Hasn't been good in AAA. He has not really been good since he was that lower level phenom, that turned heads with the 118-mile-per-hour home run. In his 7 games at the big league level, 21 at bats, 9 strikeouts, he had 4 hits. So, I mean, no walks. Like, he was DHing all of those games too. They brought him up to DH. So, what reps at shortstop? Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't make any sense to me. There's a lot of misdirection and a lot of confusion, I think, throughout that organization. But Grant McCray comes up, and I do think he can serve a much better role for them, because while McCray may end up hitting better too, I don't know. He's got a better approach. I don't know if he's quite ready to carry the weight offensively to be an average hitter,
Yeah.
but he's got above average power. He flies. He's a great defender in center field. The comp that we gave when we did the Giant system before the year, I was like, he reminds me a lot of Trent Grisham, but like, yeah, you can look at the better Trent Grisham. But also, like, if it's not working out, he looks like the guy that still somehow continues to have a job because there's value to the speed and defense side of things and
Right.
the power when you run into it. I think he can be better than him, and be those better, like those stronger flashes. Probably not as good as the best that we saw of Grisham, but somewhere in between the best and the worst, and be that quality fourth outfielder. But he's a spark that could get hot, can run into homers. And again, I think that glove that he brings and the speed, he's a menace on the base paths. Like he gives you something. Whereas Marco Luciano, if he's not hitting, you're getting nothing. That's why they use just DHing. And if he's playing short, he's average at best there. McCray, like he's gonna go get it. He's gonna give you a ton of speed at the bottom of the lineup and some sneaky pop.
Yep. Grant McCray, 97 games, 50 in Richmond, 47 in Sacramento, 12 homers, but 26 doubles, 7 triples for Grant McCray in 97 games. This guy was hitting 240. Like, yeah, he swings and misses a good deal, but a 780 OPS. Richmond, not a hitter-friendly environment by any stretch. He had a 730, then he got an 820 in the PCL. Both above average numbers at the given levels. So he can, really provide some of that outfield ammo for the San Francisco Giants moving forward. We have another option along with a Marco Luciano, and that's Coby Mayo of the Baltimore Orioles. And you're shaking your head already. I'm going to lay out the numbers, and I think the numbers will tell you pretty much the entirety of the story, depending on the way that you look at it. Coby Mayo, 7 games, he was 1 for 17 with 10 strikeouts.
Mm-hmm.
He got his first big league hit. Is that really not good? Yeah. Was it 7 games? Yeah. I understand that the Baltimore Orioles need to be playing contending baseball every single night. I get that. But you can't call up a top 10 prospect in all of Major League Baseball and give him 10 games to work with. That's egregious. Like, you didn't really put him in the best opportunity to succeed here. And I feel like that's your overarching takeaway. How are you going to judge this guy and cut his first taste of big league ball at 20 plate appearances?
Every single player has had an acclimation process to the big leagues, and the gap, the just adjustment period has never been more intense and steep than I think we've seen this year. One, because starting pitching's been so ravaged at the big league level that a lot of guys have been pulled up from AAA. So, you're not seeing as much quality in AAA. But two, just Major League Baseball pitching is getting better and better and better and better. So, I mean, every hitter that we've seen come up, just about every single one, they either get their doors blown off in the beginning or they catch fire and then they absolutely hit a wall. And then they'll settle in eventually. Look at what Colt Keith has done in the second half. Look at what Jackson Chorio's done in the second half. And dude, Coby Mayo offensively is in the same conversation as those players.
Yeah.
Look at what Jackson Holliday's done after getting his second opportunity. And he even got a little bit more runway. But even him, like, they should have just let it go a bit longer. I get it. There were some more specific things they wanted him to work on. The reason why I can understand the move somewhat is that he was struggling defensively at third. But I think it's the same notion as well, where the game's faster. Give him some time. We've seen him look good at third. They clearly felt that he looked good enough at third in AAA to get an opportunity at the big league level. And like, it wasn't like we've never seen him play third. Oh my gosh, now seeing him up close and personal, he's not ready. He looked uncomfortable for sure. I think the game was fast on him. I thought he was pressing. It also hurts that he can't really play first. Like, he just hasn't gotten comfortable there yet. So it's kind of third or DH. I still think, like, if you brought him up knowing how big the hurdle is and how big it's been for every single hitter, and especially for the guys that are power over hit like Mayo is, you had to be prepared for a rough stretch of 20 plate appearances, right? Like, I don't understand what the plan was. Is just hope that he hits right away, and then if not, we send him back down. People stop complaining to us about not having him up, and he preserves his prospect promotion incentive and rookie eligibility for next year. Like, that part makes a lot of sense, right? Because they can send him back down, do the same thing they did with Jackson. He comes back up because it seems like Westbrook might be, pretty hurt, and it might be a little bit longer than they thought. And now you retain his rookie status, and he comes back up and helps. And maybe there are some things that he can focus on and work on and take that down there. I just think there's not much that he had to prove on AAA anymore. He's clearly raking there. He's going to go back there and do more of the same. The defense, I get a little bit. But if you were not prepared to weather the storm for 20 plate appearances, then why even bring him up in the first place? And that's the part I don't even get. And also, his last game was his best one. He didn't strike out. He went 1 for 2 with a double and a walk. So maybe just was finally starting to settle in, and then boom, gone. See ya. Back to AAA.
For
So
Livan Soto. It's not for
yeah, that's the thing. It's not Westbrook returning. It's for
no.
Livan Soto.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm very frustrated. Like, you can't just have that guy in the 8 or 9 spot in your lineup. And look, if the defense is a continued disaster for more than a handful of games, then sure. Then you can have that conversation. It was 7 games.
Yeah.
7 games. And the best one was the 7th one. So I think it's almost futile to even call a guy up if you're not willing to give them 50 plus plate appearances, which I even then still think is nothing. But you guys need 100 plus. But if you're not down the stretch here in this stage willing to give them 50 plus, then just don't call them up. Just don't do it.
And, from the Oriole perspective to kind of play devil's advocate, I understand if you're not willing to relinquish 50 plate appearances. But furthering your point, if you're not willing to relinquish 50 plate appearances, then don't do this to him. Don't dangle the carrot and have him up there for 20. Let's not do that. There's no point in dipping your toes in if it's really cold, deciding you're not going swimming. You have the swim trunks on. Let's go swimming for a little bit. If you get in, if you fully submerge your body and it's really cold for 2 minutes and your body doesn't get used to it, then get out. Whatever. But man, it felt like they dabbled in Coby Mayo when they should have just given him a fair shot, and he didn't get a fair shot. And I think Holiday was bordering on fair shot because it was 34 plate appearances and he was totally overmatched. And like you said, there were tangible things that he needed to work on. With Mayo, 20 plate appearances is nowhere close to 34. That's nearly half.
And I have multiple that I saw off the top of my head where he gets rung up on pitches that just weren't strikes, right? And so that it sounds like nothing, but that's 10% of the at bats or of the plate appearances, right? So that's the other crazy part to me. So it's just I felt like he didn't get really a fair shot at all. And now you're gonna go pivot to Ramon Arias and have him in his 678 OPS. I just. If you value third base defense that much, I guess I get it, but I don't know. I feel like for their best interest at the end of the year to have your best team moving forward, give Mayo these consistent ABs because he's gonna go right back to AAA and he's gonna mash. He already knows what he needs to do there. Sure, they can give him some specific things to work on, but the only thing that he really needs to work on, aside from again maybe the defense, there's some specific things there, and that might be the big part of it, but. Other than that, it's the only thing that he needs to work on is getting comfortable against big league pitching. And there's only one way I know on how to do that.
What, in the big leagues?
Probably be there. Yeah.
Yeah, I would think that would make the most sense. So, yep. I saw a tweet from your guy, Craig Mish, that I found not fascinating, but it just kind of spurred a thought train for me. And I want to walk us through a pretty fun exercise. But this tweet was, interesting to read here. The Marlins have informed 2022 NL Cy Young Award winner Sandy Alcantara he will not be traded this offseason, per sources. As his injury rehab continues to go smoothly, the full expectation is Alcantara will be Miami's opening day starter in 2025. That was an option for the Miami Marlins, moving him this offseason?
This offseason wouldn't have made any sense anyways. So I think that part of it is kind of weird. I guess because if you're Sandy, you just don't know, right? You probably just want that comfort knowing that, hey, they're not going to move me. I can just train and rehab and feel good about.
I don't have to have those anxieties. Yeah.
Yeah, I know where I'm starting the season next year and go from there. I thought that was kind of an assumption anyways, because even if you were going to trade him, when you want him to come back, look good, and then you move him then.
Right, you'd be selling very, very low on a reigning Cy Young Award winner, essentially.
I think the reason why it was reported by Mish is that, one, again, they've traded. It was shocking at how many players they actually moved. And, of course, there's going to be no shortage of interest in Sandy Alcantara. And as he's continuing to work his way back, just giving him that that pause of, hey, you're not getting moved. Don't worry. That said, he's gonna. I was everything I've gathered and I understand is that it's like a coin flip, that there's a chance that they, because he's so important to the organization. I mean, this guy is a pro. Like
Yeah.
he does everything in the community. He mentors the younger pitchers. He's the hardest worker in the room. Like anybody in the Marlins organization will say nothing but positive things about him for hours if you let them. That's the kind of guy you want to keep around. That said, it's not the way that the Rays have operated, Bendix operated, and even Bruce Sherman, the Marlins owner's got to look at it and say, hey, like we're going to be paying him. He's going to be a club option for $20 million. He's making 17, and then a club option for 20. And then if they extend him, it's going to be much more than that.
Yep.
He's worth it, but for a payroll that would be a large chunk of, and a team that has a lot of pitching, is it really worth it from them from a roster construction standpoint, from a pure baseball roster construction, make the most of every dollar standpoint?
No,
probably not.
No.
I still would extend him because you need a player like him, and you
the
need some
intangibles,
continuity.
and like you need the intangibles. You need the mentorship of the young pitching. Like I view his mentorship of Yuri Perez at what, $8 million, $10 million.
Picked him up at the airport, man.
I know, like that's the thing. Having that steady veteran presence, and I'm going to run through the pitching situation for the Miami Marlins. Having that guy, having that Cy Young Award winner, having that best pitcher in baseball at one point guy, that is, I don't know if there's a price tag for that.
No.
Like,
No,
I think it's clear cut. Hey, you make the money work for Sandy Alcantara, just like how you said the Reds need to make the money work for Ellie De La Cruz.
100%.
For other reasons, the Miami Marlins need to make the money work for Sandy.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the Marlins, and it's not a fair comparison because he was just on a different level, but I asked around, and of course people could say anything now because we'll never know. But do you think the Marlins would have extended Jose Fernandez, and he would have cost so much money, blah blah blah? And everything I kept hearing from people that were in that front office was they would have found a way. The ownership loved him way too much. They saw what he did to for the team. Like they would have figured it out. They would have figured out a way to do it. Maybe they wouldn't have, but they would have tried. And I think the fact that they would have tried because of how expensive he would have been says something. Sandy's not that kind of guy. He's not going to bring that many fans compared to what Jose was doing. But there's still so much value to what he brings and continuity and all the things. And also he's going to age like fine wine, in my opinion. Like this Tommy John was like the one thing that he's had like every pitcher ever. He didn't have it until he was 27 years old. And he fills up the zone, and he's I think he's the perfect pitcher body that you can find, and with the work ethic to go with it. It was a no-brainer that they weren't going to move him though, because he's only going to make $9.3 million this year. Yeah. So they might move him at some point during the season if they want to, because then he makes 17.3 in 2025, 17.3 in 2026, and 21 in 2027. Zach Eflin's has an option for more than that. It's like, who cares? So and the Orioles are excited about acquiring that. So I still don't think it's that much. I think they could still make this work, and they should. Also, because when you look at what the rotation could look like, not only next year, but the year after that, this team could get into contention and be pitching centric. Like they could be the Mariners reasonably sooner rather than later if they keep Sandy.
It was a really good transition here because I'm going to walk you through the best pitching situations for 2025. I think the Marlins are up there. And, I'm thinking end of 2025 as well. Hell, we can even extend it to the beginning of 2026. I'm just looking, hey, next year and maybe the year after that, who's got the best pitching situation moving forward? And the way that I grabbed names was anybody whose contract situation is up in the air, I left off. So unrestricted free agents like Corbin Burns does not count for the Baltimore Orioles. Like, we have no idea where he's going to go. He doesn't count for anybody. The Marlins next year can run out some assortment of Sandy Alcantara, Jesus Luzardo, Braxton Garrett, Yuri Perez should be back. What, midway through next year?
That's the hope, yeah.
The goal is midway through next year. Max Meyer, Ryan Weathers, Edward Cabrera, Robbie Snelling at some point next year, Adam Mazur, hell, maybe Thomas White at the end of next year if he's balling out.
He looks like one of the top pitching prospects in baseball from the left side right now. So, yeah.
So I've got a ladder here. And what I want to do is I want you to compare that Marlins pitching situation to the next team that I bring up. And when a team does beat that Marlins pitching situation, then we move on. So, like, say, for the sake of this, Tampa beats the Miami pitching situation for next year. Instead of Miami versus Tampa, it then becomes Tampa versus Pittsburgh, Tampa versus Philly, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Okay.
And
So,
tell me if I'm being a little biased. I don't think I've ever been biased about the Marlins on here though. But tell me if because I am a little bit more tapped in, I guess, to those pitchers because I've followed a lot of them even through the minor leagues. So like,
right.
but I mean the depth there is crazy.
It's
What
crazy.
about the Luzardo side of things though? Because it seems like a trade's almost inevitable at midpoint through the season.
I would think so, midpoint through the season. So I'm kind of factoring him into the 2025 plan.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, if they're winning ball games, they're not going to just move him.
Exactly.
They'll just sell lesser, or they'll move him for a position. It'll be a different situation. Cross that bridge when you get there. But I think for
Right.
the sake of argument, either way, it's a very valuable asset that they'd be trading, and then they still have a ridiculous rotation. So it serves a purpose still.
Yeah, and he factors into this 2025 situation. So again, Sandy Luzardo, Braxton Garrett, Yuri Perez, Max Meyer, Ryan Weathers, Edward Cabrera, Robbie Snelling, Adam Mazur, possibly Thomas White. You take that over Texas, I assume. DeGrom, Eovaldi, John Gray, Tyler Mahle, Kumar Rocker, Jack Leiter, Emiliano Teodo.
Too much unknown with Texas, I think.
Yeah.
But you can say the same with the Marlins with guys coming back. They're just a lot younger coming back off of TJ. And, I think the other slept on part is how good Braxton Garrett was last year without the injuries this year. And
Yeah.
Ryan Weathers, like, this is a different pitcher this year. The Marlins were very proud about what they've done to get him right. So, like, he's like a mid-threes guy now, looks like.
Yeah, totally different.
Marlins.
So, all right, we go Marlins. I lean Marlins too. Marlins or the Cardinals? Sonny Gray, Eric Fetty, and Miles Michaelis under contract again for like 15. Steven
And
Matz,
they're going to
Quinn
pick up Gibson,
Matthews, Tink
probably.
Hence, Graceffo McGravy. It's the Marlins.
Marlins.
Marlins or the Mariners? Castillo, Gilbert, Kirby, Miller, Wu, Hancock, Logan Evans.
I'm taking the Mariners.
Yeah.
It's too proven, and I mean what these guys have done. They've been doing it with Wu being kind of, unavailable at times, seven shutty, I think six shutty yesterday though. So
Yeah, six shutty.
But yeah, you got to go with the Mariners here. Just too dominant.
Have to. Mariners or the Padres? Dylan Cease, Michael King, Joe Musgrove, Yu Darvish, Matt Waldron.
Mariners.
Mariners. Mariners or Rays? Shane McClanahan, Taj Bradley, Jeffrey Springs, Drew Rasmussen, Shane Baz, Ryan Pepio.
Too much unknown, man. I
Really?
really like the potential, but you got double TJ, triple elbow. Taj is great. Baz has not looked like himself yet.
Springs, TJ, Pepio,
yeah, McClanahan's double TJ. I'm going Mariners there again.
Okay. Mariners or Pirates? Skeens, Jared Jones, Mitch Keller, Bubba Chandler, Luis Ortiz, Braxton Ashcraft, Thomas Harrington, Bailey Falter, Johan Oviedo.
Is it like moving forward or is it like just next year?
That's a good question.
I'm still going Mariners because of what Logan Gilbert is. Logan Gilbert's one of the best pitchers in the game now.
Yes, he is.
Kirby, aside from what he did, like we've seen him be that, in stretches. Brian Wu, when he's not feeling a little bit of like a twinge somewhere and then leaving the game, he's clearly a bona fide middle rotation starter, if not a little bit better than that. So yeah, I mean, I think the Mariners are just gonna win every comparison here.
Yeah, I will say Skeens, Jones, Bubba could be absolutely
Skeens, Jones,
insane.
Bubba's crazy. If Jones was healthy, like he didn't. You just saw him yesterday. Didn't look great, right?
No.
But that has the potential to be the best. It has the potential to be one of the best we've seen in a long time.
How about Mariners or Phillies? Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, Ranger Suarez, Christopher Sanchez, still have Taiwan Walker, but remember Andrew Painter is coming back. So we could be looking at a five-man rotation next year of Wheeler, Nola, Ranger, Sanchez, Andrew Painter.
Wheeler, Nola.
I think this is where I go Phillies.
I mean, Wheeler's going to be 35 almost.
Yeah, but has he shown any signs of slowing down?
No. He's about to throw another freaking full postseason probably. If the Mariners had one or two guys in the pipeline that I felt really, really good about.
Yeah,
That'd get me going. But like, they're somehow going to get Durangelo Sanger there in like 2 seconds.
exactly. Ryan Sloan going to debut at 19 years old.
You lean Phillies here.
I lean Phillies.
The thing that's interesting too, and I was actually talking about this with one of my favorite like people I interact with on social media named Dominic. He's one of the smarter like hitting and just baseball minds. There's some crazy phenomenon going on in the like in Seattle, like at their ballpark, that is bizarre. It's not just like their home road splits. Other hitters come in there, and I know that their pitchers are very good, but all
Yeah.
of their strikeout rates are significantly or like relatively significant. Like it's significant in the relative sense because you don't see that big of a gap in a lot of other home road splits. Like their strikeout rates are way higher. Everyone strikes out more at their ballpark, and
Hmm.
I don't know if it's like a batter's eye thing or whatever it may be. So that may help a little bit, but I mean, Bryce Miller's got a 3.46. George
I know.
Kirby, after getting bombed, has a 3.4. Brian Wu has a 2.
No, Kirby after getting bombed has a 3.7. Does he
Does he have a
not?
3.7 now?
I thought it was a 3.73.
Is that what it's at now?
I
Didn't
thought so.
not updated?
After 3 2/3, 11 earned.
I've got him at a 3.42.
I have him at a 3.73. Let me check.
How many starts?
Please hold. George Kirby. A 3.42. Did they take some earned runs off of his
Oh, they did. Yeah, they
Tuesday?
did. They took some earned runs off the board, I believe.
That's huge for George Kirby.
Huge for Kirby.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah, that's always exciting.
That's awesome. Yeah, so the final line on Kirby on Wednesday. Yeah, 3 2/3, 6 earned, not 3 2/3, 11 earned. Wow.
Dude, we're talking about a rotation that's 27, 26, 24, 26, and the oldest is 32.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick with my Mariners here.
Okay. Mariners or Yankees? Cole, Rodon, Stroman, Nestor, Heel, Schmidt, Warren, Hampton, Beater.
Mariners.
Okay. Twins. Pablo, Joe Ryan, Ober, Paddock, Simeon Woods Richardson, David Festa, Zebby Matthews, Andrew Morris.
Sneaky really good, but
It's
just doesn't
really
have the
good.
same high end talent. So Mariners.
I think you have somebody unseat them now. The Dodgers, Tyler Glasnow, Yamamoto, Otani is back in that rotation. Gavin Stone, Bobby Miller, Dustin May, Tony Gonsolin, Justin Robleski, Kyle Hurt, maybe Clayton Kershaw. No, dude. The fact that we can get Glasnow, Yamamoto, Otani, Stone, Bobby Miller, and like Dustin May has to move to the pen.
That's a wrap. Yeah, assuming they stay healthy, like which is I mean you could say that about anybody. So yeah, that's a wrap. I mean that's Otani was pitching like one of the best pitchers in baseball. He's gonna come back and just be a freakazoid. So yeah, that sounds good to me.
I think everybody's playing for second here. I had Kansas City down here. Reagan, Zalugo, Singer, Waka, Kyle Wright. Kind of interesting. Like could
Yeah,
be
no,
somewhat
good
competitive.
for them. Long way from where they were before, but no.
Yeah. Houston, Fromber, they should get Christian Javier back for the second half of the season. Luis Garcia will be back. Hunter Brown should be back. Or Hunter Brown is there. Renel Blanco and then Spencer Arrighetti. It doesn't measure up to the
Good, but
Dodgers.
yeah, it doesn't move me.
Cleveland, Tanner Bybee, Gavin Williams, hopefully Tristan McKenzie on a bounce back. Logan Allen, Joey Cantillo, Parker Messick, Doug Nikhazy. No.
No, sir.
Detroit, Skubal, Job, Reese Olson, Casey Mize, Kiter Montero, SGL, Troy Melton.
Too quick to the top prospect. You're right. Like top prospect
Yeah.
can't be the third name you go to.
He was the second name. Yeah.
Their second name. Yeah. So no.
Okay. Cincinnati, Green, Lodolo, Abbott, Williamson, Louder, Burns, possibly.
Really good. It's really good, but
Yeah.
need a little bit more proven consistency, even from some of the guys at the top. Like Lodolo has got to be more consistent.
Right.
And then we got to see a little bit more from Louder, and we'll see what Burns looks like.
I had three more teams. The Cubs, Steele, Shota, Tyone, Assad, Wicks, Horton, and Hayden Wesneski. I'm curious to see how Horton responds from what I thought initially was a lat issue. It turns into a shoulder injury.
Isn't it wild how that always happens?
Like, come on, man.
Daniel Espino was a knee until it was shoulder is destroyed and can't throw.
They're not even near the same place on the body. Like, lat to shoulder, okay, it's easier to get away with. Knee to shoulder?
It's minor leagues, man.
Yeah, crazy. Atlanta, Strider, Sale, Reynaldo Lopez, Schwellenbach, AJ Smith-Shawver, Hurston Waldrop.
That's really good.
It's really good.
For second place, we're talking
For second place, it could be so like them or Seattle. Maybe still Seattle. So we're fighting for the bronze here. Them or Miami?
Oh, yeah. Seattle's got the second spot. I think Schwellenbach's a bona fide stud. So I mean, but no Freed,
No Freed. Freed hits the open
presumably.
market.
Sale's going to be almost 36.
Morton hits the open market.
So it's Strider,
Sale, Reynaldo Lopez, Schwellenbach, AJ Smith-Shawver, Hurston Waldrop.
still going Mariners.
Yeah. So you
But
think
that
they're
versus
third, them or
Marlins.
Miami? Or Tampa? You taking Miami or Tampa next year?
Miami.
Okay. Because of the depth.
The depth.
Yeah.
These guys are all going to be on innings limits and things like that. And like your 7 starters, like Edward Cabrera.
Yeah.
So I'd go with him. Ooh, that is good. So Braves versus
Marlins.
where do you lean? Like Sandy's going to be fully unleashed.
I go Marlins because of the depth. The fact that in August we could be looking at, if the Marlins are like doing a poor man's Mariners thing and they don't move Luzardo, we could be looking at Sandy, Luzardo, Yuri Perez, Max Meyer, and then whoever the fuck in the 5 spot.
I mean, I think Weathers is better than Meyer right now. So you have Weathers and then
hey,
Braxton
Thomas
Garrett.
White gets up in August.
Like you could, like you're that's got to be the best 5, the best like 4 or 5 potential options that you got. And like and if those guys falter, you're plugging in Edward Cabrera or any of these guys that would be strong 5 options too. So yeah, the depth is just too good.
Last one that fired
And then
me
we're
up
not even
was
mentioning Adam Major too. If something clicks
Major.
with him,
Yep.
just another arm that is not a nobody.
And again, Snelling could be the 5 there too.
Yeah, like he's been good in double all of a sudden.
There we go. Last team that fired me up a little bit was Arizona. Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, Jordan Montgomery on a bounce back because we know he'll opt in. Eduardo Rodriguez, Brandon Pfaadt, Ryan Nelson, Dre Jameson will be back.
Solid.
It's
But I'm taking
appealing.
the Braves over that.
Yeah.
So
you think top 4 here are the Dodgers 1, Mariners 2, and then the Marlins and the Braves are right there with Tampa in the 5 spot?
I think so.
I think that's where I stand too.
I really
the Phillies. Do. Shit, the Phillies.
Oh, the Phillies. Phillies versus Marlins.
Probably go Phillies.
I'm going Phillies, just a top end talent there. Yeah.
So that's what we got. There are a
The
lot
Marlins
of really
would be
good.
4.
And then you got the Pirates hanging there with Skeens, Jones, Bubba, Keller.
When we're talking about a team that's going to lose 100 games this year, like that could have a top 5 rotation next year.
Yeah.
And bats that they acquired at the deadline that are going to get plugged in there. Like,
yep.
I don't think they're going to be good, but they're going to be watchable.
Yep.
And I think that's saying a lot.
100%. All right, let's wrap real quick with hitters of the month so far and then games of the weekend. Hitters of the month so far, the first 15 days of August. Sorted by OPS, not WRC+. You should have minimal problem with this top 5. Fire off some guesses.
From this week, I mean, or this
from
month,
from the first 2 weeks, yeah. So like
Juan
12,
Soto.
13 games. Soto is 5th. He's got a 1248 OPS, 7 homers.
Give me Aaron Judge.
Aaron Judge is number 1, a 1518 OPS.
Cal Raleigh?
No. Cal Raleigh is a little bit farther down, but good guess.
I thought he was going nuts.
He was for a little bit.
How about Jake Berger?
Jake Berger is 4th, a 1279 OPS. He's got 8 homers in his first 13 games in August.
So crazy.
So you got 1, 4, and 5. 2 and 3 like won't shock you.
2 and 3 won't shock me.
Both American League. Both superstars.
Yordan
Alvarez is 3rd, a 1329 OPS in 12 games in August. Number 2, you literally just sent me a text about last night.
Amazing how that doesn't narrow it down. Oh, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Holy crap, is that guy nasty.
1342 OPS. So again, top 5 by OPS here. There are 5 guys with an OPS over 1200 in the month of August so far. Aaron Judge with a 1518, Vladdy Jr. with a 1342, Yordan Alvarez with a 1329, Jake Berger with a 1279, Juan Soto with a 1248. Rounding out the top 10, Zach Neto with an 1161, Bobby Witt Jr. with an 1155, Kyle Schwarber with an 1154, Jake McCarthy of the Diamondbacks with an 1140,
Nutty.
And Luis Garcia of the Nationals hitting 405 with an
What?
1114. Teoscar Hernandez 11th at 1110 OPS.
So since June 29th, and that's just because that's the two like columns that I can get on Fangraphs. Vladdy slashing 389, 444, 772. It's a 232 WRC plus.
Dude.
He's back to one of the best hitters in Major League Baseball that we saw, almost win an MVP.
It's almost
He
like the
is,
youngin just needed some time.
yeah, like Peter says, give the man a second, right?
Yeah. But he didn't give Vladdy a
He
second.
did not practice what he preaches there. Preseason number 74 player for Peter Apple.
69.
60. Oh yeah, 69. Of
Yeah,
course,
he
how
did
could
it
I
as a
forget?
bet. Hold
How
this
could I
L,
forget?
Peter. Ratio.
Yeah, they
Let,
could get a haul for him now though. Holy crap, he's 25 still. Crazy.
no, I know.
But they got to extend this dude.
Yeah.
They should have done it earlier. Now he's way too expensive.
Trade Bichette, extend Vladdy. Telling you.
That's the move.
Let's wrap with games of the weekend here. 2 on Friday that I want to shout out. Friday night in Pittsburgh, Logan Gilbert against Paul Skeens. Mariners, Pirates. Who you got?
That's a banger. I'm gonna go Mariners. I think it's a pitcher's duel, and that's usually what works into the Mariners' favor. And Skeens has looked a little bit human lately, just a little bit.
Yeah. Factor in the offenses here. Guardians at Brewers on Friday night. It's Gavin Williams on the road against Aaron Savali.
I'm gonna go Guardians. I think Gavin Williams. He had the one rough outing against the Orioles, but I think the last few that I've seen, he looks dialed in. I'm going with them.
Got you. Saturday, Zach Gallen, Jeffrey Springs. That's D-backs Rays in Tampa.
I'm gonna go with the D-backs. They're just on a different level right now. The Rays are rough. And Gallen was like cramps last time, right? I think he's fine. I think he's gonna throw pretty well. And Springs is still shaking off the rust.
Yeah. Nats Phillies in Philly. Christopher Sanchez throws for the Phillies against Mackenzie Gore. Phillies are slipping and sliding, and Sanchez is really slipped and slid.
Yeah, can I take the over?
Sure.
On BetMGM. Yeah, no.
Gore walked,
I think
what, 6 his last time out?
The Gore has not looked good, and Sanchez just had the worst outing, I think, of his career from a hits perspective. So if it's a slugfest, though, who does that favor? I'll go Phillies.
Philly. Yeah. Kansas City at Cincinnati. Michael Wacha, Nick Lodolo.
I mean, Lodolo's so hard to gauge, man.
Really hard.
It's in Cincinnati?
In Cincinnati.
Give me a Lodolo like masterclass where everyone he mixes in like once a month. I'll go with a little upset there with the Reds.
I can get behind that. Twins Rangers in Arlington. David Festa on the road against Nathan Eovaldi.
Festus just struggled with the command late. I'll go Eovaldi in the Rangers,
especially on the road too.
Yeah.
Tanner Bybee, Freddie Peralta. Guardians Brewers in Milwaukee.
What a game!
Yeah,
what a game. Bybee's been better. It's in Milwaukee though. Give me the Guards.
So you have them winning the Gavin start and the Bybee start on Friday,
Saturday. I think they take 2 out of 3. They won the last 2 of that. I think they take 2 out of 3.
So then in Milwaukee on Sunday, you have Colin Ray beating Ben Lively.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the salvage game that the Brewers always somehow grab.
That's totally the game I'm not tuning into.
Oh, this series. No shot. Not until Devin Williams comes in.
Yep. How about Tampa? Taj Bradley hosting Merrill Kelly and the Diamondbacks. Taj needs a bounce back.
Kelly looked good in his first one back.
And Taj looked not good last time out.
I think he bounces back. And maybe a little bit of the rust shows in the second start for Kelly. I'll go Rays get one here.
In Cincinnati, Royals Reds, Brady Singer, Andrew Abbott on Sunday.
Singer got bombed last time out.
Yeah.
But
he's been really good all year.
Not great though. You might get bombed again. Not a great place if you're giving up homers.
Yeah, but he's also a sinker guy. Like his arsenal makes sense at Great American.
I'm gonna go the other way. I think they drop 2. I think they get caught off guard in Cincy.
Fair. Clayton Kershaw, Sonny Gray, Dodgers Cardinals in St. Louis.
Cardinals need it bad. Yeah. Bad. And these older guys are better against the low velo. Goldie homers. Give me the Cardinals in this one.
All right. Two more. Twins, Rangers in Arlington, Pablo Lopez, Tyler Mahle.
Twins. Pablo's going to take the reins now. I believe in Pablo. I think he knows he needs to really really kick it in gear, and I think he's going to look like that frontline guy that he has flashed already in the past. Last time out was a little bit better against the Royals. I think he turns in another good one.
And then last one, Sunday Night Baseball. We finally get a good Sunday Night Baseball game. Yankees are in Detroit. Marcus Stroman, Tarek Skubal.
They're in Williamsport.
Oh, they're in Williamsport. Marcus Stroman, Tarek Skubal in Williamsport.
Does Stroman get every Williamsport game? I swear.
I think
unless
so.
I'm misremembering that. I mean, I gotta go with the better pitcher here, and they've been swinging it better. And Kerry Carpenter's back. Like Skubal's gonna shove on the big stage.
I'm in. All right, that was the Just Baseball show for Friday. We'll talk to you on Monday with a weekend roundup. Reminder, we have some awesome editorial stuff going out at justbaseball.com literally all the time. And we will talk to you next week.